Hello punters and welcome back to another Saturday racing preview. Of course, in this video we'll look at the New South Wales feature meeting and we'll be looking at Warwick Farm this week. Of course, we have no racing at Randwick or Rose Hill. They get a bit of a spell and Warwick Farm gets one of its feature meetings of the calendar year to showcase on a Saturday. So we're really looking forward to that. Some great racing going around, highlighted by the two Inglis races for the 2-year-olds and the 3-year-olds, both sprint races. And then we've also got in race number 8, the bonus stud mile, which has got a really nice field going around in it. So we look forward to getting into that. So we're just going to get straight into it. At the moment, the track's rated a soft track. So looking at race number 1, a bit of rain around Sydney as well. So I reckon we would still be sticking with that soft track or possibly a heavy track. Obviously, I don't live up there, so it's a little bit tough to tell. But from what I've seen and the research I've done, I can see that there's still going to be a fair bit of rain about in Sydney over the next couple of days. So I can say a bit of confidence we'll be working on a wet track. So looking at race number 1 on the card over 1,300 metres, look at the speed map for this one. I'd say that Spiritual Pursuit and Enlighten Me will find the top. Helga probably won't be too far off them either. And so I think Stellar Sea Sun will probably settle into midfield and a couple of the others tend to go back in the field. So quite a pretty easy map. And look, I think for me, Stellar Sea Sun looks really hard to beat here. It's got great soft track stats, like I just mentioned. 3 starts for 2 wins and a second. And on soft, and then on the heavy as well, 2 starts for a win and a placing. Third up stats are good. It's had 2 starts, third up for a win and a placing. I just think it's really building nice towards a win. Like I mentioned, the speed map there. On paper, it looks to be getting a really nice run in the race. Going to be so just back off the speed a little bit. Should be able to come off a decent enough tempo and finish over the top of them here. I think it's the one to beat, and it's going to be one of the better bets of the day for me. Ahead of number 4, Spiritual Pursuit, who, as we know, last preparation, that sort of form will be good enough to win a race like this, but just hasn't come back and shown that sort of form since having a spell. She's done a few things wrong, albeit they've all been over 1,100 metres, so perhaps stretching her legs out to the 1,300, we might see a little bit of improvement in her, but this is a horse where, if it gets onto the heavy track, this will be her element. She's had 3 starts on a heavy track for 2 wins, so perhaps if the rain comes, you might see a bit of money come for her, then that's where you could perhaps step into it. So look, she's definitely probably one of the better horses. She's probably the best horse in a race on her day, but she just has not shown it so far as preparation. You'd be going to go with her, but like I said, if we get on that heavy track, maybe that might see the improvement from her. I could see her finding the front from barrier 1 and being hard to run down. Number 2, Helga in for 3rd. Again, another horse that doesn't mind the soft track. Is coming off some decent enough runs over the mile. Comes back to 1,300. Last time I was around this distance range, I finished 3rd in a 1,200 metre race behind Akatane and switched, which I think is very good form. And similarly, Stellar Sea Sun comes out of that exact same race. Now, Stellar Sea Sun on that occasion was beaten home by Helga, but I think coming out to the 300, being 3rd up this time round will suit Stellar Sea Sun far better, but perhaps there shouldn't be too big of a difference in the market. I think if it was on a good track, I'll be leaning more towards Helga, but the fact we're going to be working on a rain-affected going, I think Stellar Sea Sun's the way to go. And then if a 4th, number 6, Seen Too Many, who comes down from Michael Cossey. He doesn't have too many that come down to Sydney too often, so you must think it's a decent enough chance. Tory Berry riding as well as a big tick. 2nd up here, off a very good win at the Sunshine Coast over 300 last time out. Give it a pretty good chance as well in the race. So recap the numbers for me on race number 1. I'm quite keen to play number 3, Stellar Sea Sun. I think it's one of the better things of the day. Ahead of number 4, Spiritual Pursuit for 2nd. In for 3rd, number 2, Helga. And then in for 4th, number 6, Seen Too Many. Moving on to race number 2 now, and it's the first of the Inglis sprint races of the day. This is for the 3. This one's the highway race in race number 2. And Mr. Wong's your favourite. Now, this horse saluted very nicely for us last time out in the highway race, and I think I've just got to go with him again here. Look at the speed map for this one. I can see a little bit of speed in this again. I'd say Safe Landing, Major Time, Let's Get Animal, Honeysuckle Choice will all be towards the speed, and there'll be quite a lot of other of them trying to push on from outside barriers as well. I could see Can't Find Snippy and Tail of the Kraut trying to get forward as well. It'll be interesting to see those inside runners. A lot of them are generally back markers, whether they look to press forward and get in a prominent spot to not be caught too far back. But for me, look, Mr. Wong, the race looks really well suited to him. Again, he showed a really good turn of foot last time out in the highway race, put him away and won well on that occasion. I think it can do the same here again. We get those decent odds of $4.50 once again, so I think it's really hard to beat, and I'm going to have it on top. Ahead of number 8, Gretzky, who I think is a very major player here. He's going at $51 odds. I think that is massive overs. This horse that's 2nd up has 4 starts for 4 placings. So it really does like running second up. And first up, it was running at the Sapphire Coast, finished 6th on that occasion, 2.2 lengths in a benchmark 58. But key to note, it carried 63 kilos on that occasion. This time around, it's going to carry 58. So I can see a big improvement from Gretzky. I think it's massively over the odds. So I've got it in for second. In for third, number 18, Southern Appeal, who returned to the racetrack for Danny Williams after a spell. He's had a nice trial leading in here at Goulburn, and last time out it was really in some good form. He then came into that Rose Hill Highway race, was pretty well spec'd to the mark on that occasion, had a bit of an issue and since had the spell, but I think it's come back nicely, and I can see a good performance from it with Jason Cole in the saddle. And in for fourth, number 1, Safe Landing. Of the on-speed runners, see this horse really being the one to stick on. Second up here really looks to suit. So 2 starts second up for a win and a placing. Has had a win on a soft track before and has had a placing from its only heavy start. So it is a horse that gets through the wet going pretty well. So I dare say that it's got a decent chance of the $14 odds as well. But look, going to stick with number 2, Mr. Wong, on top for me. So I think $4.50 is a nice price. Head of number 8, Gretzky, who I think is massively over the odds, and I could definitely make a push to an each-way play. The only problem with it is wet track stats aren't great, but with those second up stats, I think you've just got to give it a decent chance in a race like this. Especially its previous form is probably good enough to win a race like this. So look at weighing that up. I think it's got a good chance at $51 odds, especially $14 the place. That looks massive, a very nice price. Then in for third, number 18, Southern Appeal, and then in for fourth, number 1, Safe Landing. Move on to race number 3, and this is the first of the 3-year-old races. We've got a very nice Inglis sprint here. We've got the likes of Kiyomichi, Kubrick, Pandemic, Wilmot Pass, Shani are quite right, and Regimental Band. All 7 of those horses are very good in their own right, so really looking forward to seeing this matchup. But look at the speed map, I'd say Kiyomichi and Quite Right will be the leaders. It's just Wilmot Pass will probably jump in behind them, and Kubrick will probably get a spot just in behind, with Shenier and Regimental Band being towards the rear of the field. And obviously Pandemic likes to drop right back in his races as well. Look, it's interesting. It's hard to tell what sort of pace they'll go at, but I think from what I've seen so far, just got to stick with Pandemic on top here. I think he was just terrific first up. He had to come through on the inside and weave his way through. I could see something very similar happening here again. Tommy Berry in the saddle. The only issue with this horse is it's only seen the wet track once, and it failed on that occasion to run a place. So just that little bit of concern with the wet track. I think that this horse could drift out the market. So if you want to take it, I would be waiting on and maybe hopefully we can get a $3 or something like that at some point. In for second, number 5, Shenier is the other of the Godolphin runners. This is for Anthony Freeman. Now, this horse had a real big boom coming into it. It won so impressively first up at Sandown. Then it came out the second time round, beaten by Lady Lupino on that occasion. In a leader-dominated race, got rolled at the $1.24 on that occasion. We haven't seen it since, so it's been a long time between drinks. It's been, April last year, so it's been a long time for this horse, but I expect we can see a decent enough first up run. I'm not sure if it can win, but I think it's got a reasonable enough chance. Number 1, Kiyomichi. Look, if she's come back well, she'll go really close here. She had a nice trial recently at Rose Hill. Prior was just okay, but the recent one was very impressive indeed, being deprived on that occasion. And if she can find her old form, she will win this race. But she just obviously last preparation showed a couple of little niggles in her racing, but she is definitely a wet tracker. If we get on that heavy surface, I'd probably bump her up to my top pick, because she's had 2 starts on a heavy track for 2 wins. And if she's up on speed, she might give them something to run down, especially in those heavy conditions. Number 2, Kubrick, comes in for fourth for me. This is a horse that, of course, went and competed in some very nice racing last preparation, including the Guineas at Caulfield. So that was it was pretty well spec'd in the mark on that occasion. So it comes back here, over 1,200 first up. Don't expect it to be winning, but I expect it to run a good race. So recap the numbers for me. No, I'm going to have number 3, Pandemic, on top. I just think he was that good last time out. My only little niggle and concern is perhaps the wet track. In for second, number 5, Shenier. In for third, number 1, Kiyomichi. I think it's a big player for getting that heavy surface. And in for fourth, number 2, Kubrick.